Okay, so I just wanted to go over a few things with you to explain what we did today. So we just went over the initial candidate information for component two. So I just talked about some changes. So as a national board teacher, I looked at my learners, which were the teachers this year, and lots of people were trying to do different components. So I decided I'm going to change things up. So I did component two today. I'm going to go over component three in November, component four in January because we don't meet in December, and then component one in February, right before you can start the testing window. So that's kind of a change so that way I can hit everything and go over each one with whoever wants to do that. And then the rest of the time I'm there to just support you on whatever components you're working on. So hopefully that will work out better for everyone. We always want to, adjust based on our learners and what they need. So hopefully that will work out well. This is the video for component two. So if you want to play this will give you a good overview of component two so that you understand what that's about. We took a look at one of the certificate specific set of instructions. So this is the link where you would go to find yours if you haven't printed yours out yet. So you'll print out, look at your discipline, like say you're doing math, and then which developmental level, are you more middle school, high school? Pick your level, and then you'll open up your you'll click that and you'll be able to download all of the instructions. So I have some already downloaded here that I had done for science. So let me just open that up. So here's one for science. And everyone's a little different. So you have to look at your instructions, but I wanted to show you the different parts that you want to look at. So this first part is going to tell you about what you need to do, okay? What you're going to have to demonstrate, what you're going to have to do. This shows you which of your standards they're going to be looking at for component two. So if you click here, this will take you to your standards. Remember, this is national board standards. We're not talking about our North Carolina standards. This is national board standards. So if you click that, that will take you to that section and you can go ahead and look at your standards. Okay, so let me continue going on here. All right, so that will give you that information. This will again give you lots of good information about what you need to do. So it tells you here what you need to do. This is for science, like I said. So you want to look at your specific one, but this talks about the time period when they have to present this. They have to come up with a major idea in science, and it tells you about the evidence you're going to provide. It tells you what you're going to be submitting. You're going to be submitting this contextual information sheet, which just about everybody has that. You have your written commentary, these instructional activities, student work samples, and a culminating assessment. So these are the requirements for this. This is high school science. You'll look at yours, and yours may be a little different, okay? Especially some of the EC and music. A lot of those are very different. So it's going to depend on your area, but you want to go through your specific instructions. Make sure you're highlighting the key details of what you need to do to make sure you get everything done. Make sure it's in this time period if they have a time period listed for yours. So you need to make sure you're following all the directions. These are important when they caution you, okay? So like this caution says, although you may be developing several major ideas concurrently for the purpose of this entry, focus only on the activities that relate to students developing conceptual understanding of the one major area you have selected. So that you have to really focus on that one area. There are other warning, do not choose activities that result in student work samples that focus on factual recall or vocabulary. Okay, such as worksheets, lecture notes, data collection sheets, things like that. They want you to really have some rich evidence that shows that scientific thinking and reasoning. That's what they really want to see. All right. And they tell you, how many pages you're allowed. They give you all of that information. So go through your instructions, highlight the information you're going to need to do. This gives you lots of the formatting information on how you can format everything. Tells you the size of your pages, your fonts, font size, all of that. Margins, it gives you everything. So take a look at that. Again, highlight all the information so that you have what you need. Now, when you get to your written commentary, okay, this will have a list of these prompts that you have to answer. So this written commentary, okay, it will tell you, like, see here, it's no more than 13 pages. And so it suggests for each section of that written commentary how many pages. Like, this is all going to be one document, okay, all of these parts, which is total of no more than 13 pages. And they give you a suggested length. So, like for this instructional context, there's suggested page. So don't take 2 pages up for this. This is probably just the relevant information about your classroom that they want, and they don't want you to take up too much time. So I would try and stick with their suggested length. I think that's helpful. I would number these on your paper, and you're not numbering it when you write the paper, okay? And you're not copying the question. That would waste a lot of space. But what you do want to do is make sure when you're writing that you are including part of that question in your answer so they can find it easily. You can also either choose to bold it or italicize the beginning of it so they can clearly find your information. So if I was going to answer this question, I might say, the relevant characteristics of the students with exceptional needs and abilities are, and I might give you that information. Okay, so I'll pull part of this, maybe put it in italics or put it in bold, and then I answer my question so that I'm making it real easy for them to find this. Then if I've had this numbered, I always like to print out my papers when I'm reading them. And so I'll print them out. I'll have a printed copy of this all numbered, and then I can go through myself as I'm kind of proofreading, and I can say, oh, here's number one, here's where I answered number two, here's where I answered number three, and I can kind of keep track of it. It also helps people who are reading for you that they're looking for all of those things. And they might say, well, in this number three here, you really didn't meet this one. You really don't have enough information to answer all those questions. So that can really be helpful. So that's, what I suggest as you're going through this. So we get through all this. These, again, you have more questions. These are all the different questions. It tells you the length and what you need to do. If you go back to the general portfolio instructions, that's the same one for everybody. That gives you all formatting and information. They have some analytical writing samples in there, so you can see what analytical writing looks like and take a look at that. That would help. So this sheet I love because this shows you the electronic submissions at a glance. So this shows you how many files you're going to need to have to then submit once that opens up. It's in about April 1st, I believe it opens up. And so, for example, you have the contextual information sheet, and you got this when you downloaded your instructions. Everything's there. It's included at the end of this, but it's also saved in separate documents. So you would open that up, complete it, save it. You can hit print as a PDF and save it in a file as a PDF. My recommendation is to have a separate folder that's, my completed or my items that I'll be ready to submit. So once I have that contextual information done, save it as a PDF, put it in my folder. That's my, submit folder for component 2. I write my commentary if it's all good. Once I've got it to the point that multiple people have read it, I've proofread, I've changed it, I've got it where I want it, save it as a PDF, put it in that folder. Then this is your not more. It tells you not more than 9 pages. It does tell you forms don't count in the totals, and this tells you exactly what you need. So you have this instructional activity 1, completed instructional activity form, and the instructional activity materials. So you'll have that form, then those materials for activity 1, another form, and the materials for activity 2, another form, and the materials for activity 3. Now these are in 3 different files. So you need to have that in a different one file that says instructional activities, activity 1, one file. Instructional activities, activity 2, okay? And instructional activities, activity 3. And so there you would have those 3 files. So as soon as you're ready to upload, you will have to upload each of those individual files. So you need to make sure you're following these directions to have these ready when that window opens that you can submit. This one is student work samples. So you'll need to have the cover page, this form, and then you'll have the student work samples. So for this one, you'll probably want to complete that information online, type it in, and then scan it along with the student work samples because you need them all in one file. Okay, so you'll have your form, you'll have your student A work samples, you'll have another form in your student B work samples. Okay, and that's one file. And that's for activity 1. Then you do the same thing for activity 2. So you have 3 files again on this one that you're going to have to upload. This one is your culminating assessment. And again, that's one file on its own. All right. So you just have to follow these and save all of these files. Once you've got them where you want them and they're good to go, save them as PDFs so that you can upload those. So that helps you with those. And these are those forms again. Like I said, they're saved separately when you download your instructions, but you also have them at the end here. So then you have your rubrics. So this is level 4. That's the highest level that you could achieve. So level 3 is really where we want to be because that at least shows clear evidence. All right. Level 2 is limited evidence. So what I would suggest that you do is take your level 2 rubric and your level 3 rubric and highlight the words that are different. That will help you to see what you need to do. You want to be at least a level 3. So if I look at this, it says the teacher recognizes student individual differences. Okay, that's one of the words that stands out that's not in here. So I have to make sure I'm identifying individual learning differences. I'm not just saying, well, this class is here. I'm talking about individual students and their past experiences to set worthwhile and appropriate goals. Okay, so they have to be worthwhile goals. I have to engage in meaningful exploration of important ideas. I want to have varied assignments. Okay, here I don't have varied, so obviously that's important. I want to have varied assignments. Don't come up with assignments that are very similar. So go through your rubrics, look at all these, and then you might also want to go to 4. You might want to shoot for 4, which is great. So you may want to then look at 4 and see what additional things you need to do to get a level 4 so that you're shooting for the top. So that's important to look at those rubrics. That will definitely help you out. Okay. So that's some ideas. This is a link to the general portfolio instructions that does have that analytical writing in it. These are some resources as far as differentiation, because remember, component 2 is all about differentiation. So these, there's some videos, some things you can read. This is something from San Francisco. It says HyperDoc that has some great ways to get to know your students, because you want to know your students well. You're going to talk about that and then plan your lessons based on what you know about your students. So you want to know as much as you can about those students and then plan the lessons. You want to differentiate for those students based on their needs. And then you want to, make any changes and see, what worked, what didn't, what do I have to do next? And so we continue that cycle. This goes over scores. So if you want to take a look at this information, this kind of explains how scores work. This is again that rubric for component 2 that I just showed you. And so with the scoring guide, the thing you want to look at is when it tells you here that you achieve certification, you have to have at least a 1.75 in the assessment center, at least a 1.75 in the portfolio section, and a total of 110. Now, if you're all 1.75, you're not going to make it. That's not going to give you enough points. But you do have to have those minimums. Obviously, you're going to have to be higher in some areas or you won't get enough points to get there. So everything is, remember, weighted. Okay. The assessment that you're taking, component 1 is 40%, component 3 is 30%, and then components 2 and 4 are both 15% each. Okay. So when you get your scores back, this is what it will look like. And so this would show you assessment center question for component 1, and it shows you the sections and how you did. And then you have component 2, and they give you feedback on things that you might want to improve, if you need to retake any. And so they give you all that, and they tell you, what your score is, the weight, the points you get. And if you have at least 110, then you will have achieved certification. Okay. So that gives you some information on that. And so make sure look through that and just make sure you're aware of what the expectations are. Now, as far as your homework for today, I gave you these two forms, and I'll show you these. I think these are helpful. And like I said, the homework is nothing you have to do. You're an adult. If it helps you to do these forms, great. If you don't think it's helpful to you, then don't do them. Okay. And it's just for you. You don't have to turn anything into me. So the first one is planning by connecting your practice to the 5 core propositions and the architecture of accomplished teaching. So this, we start at the bottom. I start at what do I know about my students? Okay, so what do I know about them? What are my high worthwhile goals that are linked to my students' needs? Okay, so what are my goals that are based on what my students need? What or how will my student instruction move my students toward the goal? How or what will I use to assess student learning? How is it linked to my goals? My reflection, what was effective and what needs improving, and how do I know? And then you want to think about your next instructional steps. What evidence will you look for to determine those next steps? Okay, what are you going to look for from students? So this can help you to kind of plan for component 2 and think about, what you're going to use to help you to best show your understanding of the architecture of accomplished teaching and meeting those students' needs and really reflecting and analyzing everything that you're doing. This one is just an analysis and reflection sheet. So this is where you're looking at some of your evidence. This is just your subject area that your certificate's in. My certificate standards say this about teaching this skill concept. So look at your standards from national boards. What does it say about teaching this skill or concept? And then reflect on how your practice shows the evidence of these standards. These are the things you're going to be writing about. So these graphic organizers can really help you to organize. So if you think that's helpful for you, by all means, use them. Okay. If not, like I said, you do not have to do them. So hopefully that helps you to understand that. If you did miss our September meeting, you can open that up and there's information there. There's the video from September. And if you are an MOC candidate, someone who already has their certification and you're looking to maintain your certification, I have information here for you as well. Just email me if you do have any questions. Okay. Our next meeting is going to be November 19th. So if you couldn't make it this week, I hope to see you then. If you have any questions, again, just let me know. Thanks a lot.